My name is Grobinski, and I'm planning to pursue a Master's of Divinity with the hopes of becoming a rostered Ministry of Word and Sacrament within the ELCA. My candidacy for rostered ministry is through the Lower Susquehanna Synod. Ask a younger me if I was a leader, and I wouldn't hesitate to tell you no. More realistically, I would probably try to shrink myself as small as humanly possible in an attempt to avoid the person asking the question altogether. My working definition of a leader at that time was one who craves power, one who enjoys leading from the front, someone who is loud, boisterous, and hard to miss, a classic extrovert, so basically everything I wasn't. The values my family instilled in me were counterintuitive to that definition. They taught me to never ask anyone to do anything I wasn't comfortable doing myself, to be truly present with the people around me and be willing to get into the mud with folks. They taught me to work hard, give my full self, and use my gifts to help others, but that wasn't presented to me as a leadership style at the time. Instead, simply what it meant to be a good person. I wasn't one to seek out leadership roles, but often found myself stepping up or being asked to lead in various group settings and teams, even if I didn't understand why. Thankfully, mentors in my life saw capabilities I couldn't always see in myself. It wasn't until later in my life that I was introduced to the idea of servant leaderships and the leaders who practiced it, emulating leadership styles that looked like the leadership Jesus Christ displayed during his time on this earth. Leaders like Charlie Roberts, the Director of Youth and Family Ministry for the Lower Susquehanna Synod. He isn't flashy. He possesses a sort of quiet confidence that allows him to lift up the gifts and abilities of those around him to achieve a common goal. He walks alongside folks, both young and old, through the good and the bad and the mundane. He always displays a willingness to admit when he may not know the answer or to how to handle a situation, instead seeking out experts and empowering them to assist in solving whatever problem he might be facing. I've had the privilege of knowing and working with him for the past 12 years. He's been a constant present in my life, sharing wisdom and stories from the lessons he has learned throughout his lifetime. He has encouraged me to pursue leadership and opportunities within the church and beyond, reminding me of the many gifts I have for serving God's people. As a result, I've had the opportunity to encounter and work with so many awe-inspiring leaders. My own personal leadership style is an amalgamation of the leaders I've had the privilege of working with, pooling things I've learned from my interactions with them while remaining centered upon the values my family and friends instilled upon me at an early age. I believe in a ministry of presence, meeting folks where they find themselves rather than waiting for them to come to me, taking time to listen to their stories, wants, and needs, getting to know the whole person instead of relying on what I observe or what others have told me. Understanding the people I serve helps me not only better serve them, but also identify and lift up their gifts, much like Charlie did with me. In my time spent coaching and ministering to young people, I found no greater joy than seeing someone step into their own unique abilities and own them, empowering new leaders, both young and old, to pursue their passions, share their diverse perspectives, and to think creatively about the church they want and need is how we can begin to address some of the biggest challenges the church will face in the next 10 years. The greatest challenge and opportunity the church is facing, in my opinion, is the need to adapt to an ever-changing world. While contemporary music, worship, and ministries have and continue to help, I believe there is still more we can do to meet the needs of God's people. The church in its earliest days was simply a group of people gathering in a home to share in a meal, fellowship, and stories passed down from those present during the life of Jesus Christ. It was personal. Going back even further, Jesus spent most of his time traveling from town to town, accompanying strangers on their journeys, sharing meals with folks, and teaching to anyone who cared to listen. In my experience, folks today crave more of the same. They want to feel seen and heard. They want a church and community that meets them where they are, which may or may not be the traditional church building. I have a passion for building communities where people feel comfortable engaging with their faith, spaces they already find themselves, like the gym, out in nature, or even in their own backyards. I'm often asked how I can get more people in the church, when instead we should be asking, how can we build more genuine, loving relationships that invite people into relationships with God and one another? If there's anything I've learned over the past few years, that there's no replacement for genuine human connection. Leaning into that interconnectedness is how we turn the tide, sharing God's love, grace, and forgiveness with all. As I pursue a theological education in seminary, I hope to continue to be able to expose myself to a diversity of perspectives on the faith, taking time to speak with instructors, peers, and rostered ministers, to better understand their perspective on the church, their approach to ministry, and their expression of their beliefs. I still have a lot to learn. I don't have any formal theological training, but something I will never stop doing is asking questions. It's the one common denominator across my entire story. I hope to continue to deepen my formal understanding of the faith with the hopes that maybe I can help shed some light on the questions so many hold. I know I'll never have all the answers, and I think that's what excites me the most, to be able to dig into the big questions with folks, simply trying to understand what it means to live out a life that God calls us to.